Welcome back to Echoes of Ihsan, where we really dig into some fascinating Islamic source material.
hmm
And today we are going to be looking at Sahih Bukhari Hadith Book 93,
Okay.
which is Oneness, Uniqueness of Allah.
Right.
And I know you are really interested in getting a strong grasp on kind of these core Islamic ideas.
Yes.
And I think what is so amazing about this book is that it doesn't just kind of lay out the concept, but it really brings it to life
Yeah,
through these different stories and teachings and practices.
absolutely.
So we're dealing with some pretty big questions here.
hmm
Like, what are those 5 keys to the unseen?
Right.
That only Allah knows.
Yeah.
What is so special about Surah 112 that reciting it is considered to be equal to like a third of the entire Quran?
hmm
And what can we learn about the Prophet Muhammad's character just from reading these hadiths?
It's such a rich tapestry, isn't it? I mean, it's not just a theological treatise. It's a window into the heart of belief and practice. I think.
And it's so relevant to what
Yeah.
you were looking for, especially those, profound stories that illustrate those concepts.
hmm
Um, so to kind of kick things off, let's jump right into Hadith 470.
Okay.
And here, the Prophet Muhammad is defining Allah's primary right upon his slaves,
hmm
and that is worship.
I think that's where this book really sets the stage, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Because it's not just about any kind of worship.
Right.
It's about the purest form, worshiping Allah alone,
hmm
without associating any partners with him. And this concept, this Tawheed, is the bedrock.
Yeah.
It's the foundation upon which everything else is built.
Which totally makes sense, right? I mean, the book is called Oneness, Uniqueness of Allah.
Right, exactly.
But it's interesting because some people might hear the word worship and think of rituals or specific actions.
hmm
So how does this hadith kind of expand our understanding of what worship encompasses?
That's a great point because worship, Islamic worship, isn't confined to just prayers and rituals. It permeates every aspect of a believer's life. Yeah.
This Tawheed is about recognizing Allah's absolute sovereignty, his power in every facet of existence.
Okay.
It's about submitting to his will, not just in words,
Right.
but in actions, thoughts, and intentions.
So it's like this constant awareness
Exactly.
of Allah's presence and a way of living that is in alignment with his guidance no matter what.
Precisely. And that's why this book, Book 93, is constantly emphasizing the importance of this Tawheed, reminding us that it's not just a theoretical concept,
Right.
but a dynamic principle
Yeah.
that should guide our every step.
Okay, so speaking of these powerful declarations of Tawheed, we come to Hadiths 471 and 472.
Oh, yeah?
And this is where we get that kind of intriguing story about a man who is leading his companions in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And he concludes with Surah 112, which
Yeah.
is Wahimes. He is Allah, the one and only.
Yes.
And the Prophet Muhammad says that reciting this surah is equal to 1/3 of the Quran.
It's powerful.
What makes this so potent?
That is the question, isn't it? It's precisely because of its conciseness and clarity.
It's pure, it's this distilled affirmation of Allah's absolute oneness, free from any human limitations or comparisons.
Yeah.
It negates
Yeah.
any concept of partners,
Right.
children, or equals.
Mm-hmm.
To Allah, it is Tawheed in its most powerful and essential form.
So reciting, it's almost like recalibrating, like
Yeah.
a way to bring ourselves back to that fundamental truth
Exactly.
of Allah's unique and absolute nature.
And the Quran is vast, multifaceted.
Right.
But 112 gets to the very heart of the Islamic message, the oneness of Allah, a reminder of the essence of faith, and a testament to the power of concise, impactful words.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Now let's shift to a more personal narrative,
All right.
one that kind of illustrates those concepts of divine decree and acceptance.
Yeah.
Hadith 474 paints this really moving scene of the Prophet Muhammad comforting his daughter after the death of her son.
Oh, this is a powerful one.
Yeah,
This hadith is so powerful because it reveals the Prophet's humanity,
right.
his capacity for empathy, compassion. In the face of such profound grief, he doesn't offer empty platitudes.
Right.
He reminds his daughter of a fundamental truth, that Allah is the owner of all things.
Okay.
And everything in this world has a predetermined lifespan.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we are entrusted with our loved ones for a time, but ultimately they belong to Allah,
Right.
and their return to him is part of his divine plan.
That idea, though, of a predetermined lifespan, that can be a really difficult concept
For some people,
to grapple with.
it is.
So how does that fit into like our understanding of free will
Yeah.
and personal responsibility?
It's a question that's been debated for centuries.
Yeah.
This Islamic concept of divine decree, or qadr, acknowledges that Allah has knowledge and control over all things, but it doesn't negate free will.
Okay.
It suggests that our lives unfold within a broader framework set by Allah.
So it's not about like, oh, you have no choice.
No.
It's just that your choices exist in this
within a larger
divinely ordained context.
Yes, and it's not just a passive acceptance. It's about an active surrender to Allah's will, coupled with striving to live a righteous life, knowing that our ultimate destination is determined by both our actions and Allah's infinite mercy.
So it's that balance
Between
trust and taking responsibility for your own choices.
And that's where patience and acceptance come in. We may not always understand the reasons behind certain events, especially in the face of hardship. But by acknowledging Allah's wisdom and surrendering to His decree, we can find solace and strength to navigate life's challenges.
Okay, so now let's dive into something that often sparks curiosity and wonder. That realm of the unseen. Hadiths 476 and 477 explore this fascinating dimension. And 476 specifically reveals those 5 keys to the unseen that are only known to Allah.
Things that even the angels are unaware of.
Exactly. So these keys encompass what is in the womb, what will happen tomorrow, when it will rain, where one will die, and when the hour will be established.
Powerful stuff.
It is. So they represent these ultimate limits
They do.
of human knowledge.
And it reminds us that despite all of our advancements and discoveries, there are realms of knowledge that remain exclusive to Allah.
And what's even more fascinating is that even the Prophet Muhammad, despite his status, didn't have access to this knowledge.
This is a crucial point. Because it underscores the importance of humility and trust in the face of the unknown. We may seek knowledge, we may strive to understand, but ultimately there are limits to our comprehension. Our faith rests on accepting that some things remain hidden. And that's okay.
So it's finding that comfort in the mystery. And recognizing that we don't need to know everything in order to have faith in Allah.
And that trust is what allows us to navigate the uncertainties of life without succumbing to fear or anxiety. We can focus on what we can control: our actions, our intentions, our relationship with Allah, and leave the rest to His infinite wisdom.
And speaking of things beyond our immediate perception, let's delve into the descriptions of paradise and hell. Hadith 481 paints this really vivid picture of the vastness of paradise.
It does. It really does. It describes a realm of unimaginable beauty and bliss, constantly expanding to accommodate the endless blessings bestowed upon the believers. It's a place where all desires are fulfilled and all sorrows are erased. But there's this really striking detail in this hadith that caught my attention.
What is that?
It mentions that Allah places His foot over hell to contain its expansion.
Whoa, that's a very powerful image.
Yeah.
What do you think the significance of that is?
I think it speaks to the balance between Allah's mercy and justice. And making choices that lead us closer to Allah's mercy and further from His wrath.
Now, let's kind of shift gears a bit and explore the practical side of Islamic teachings. Hadiths 482, 485, and 489 highlight the Prophet Muhammad's consistent practice of supplication. Not just for himself, but for others.
This is where it gets really powerful. These hadiths emphasize the power of prayer in Islam. It's not just about fulfilling a ritualistic obligation. It's about establishing a direct personal connection with Allah.
I love that.
And what's beautiful is the Prophet not only engaged in it himself, but he taught his companions these specific invocations, encouraged them to memorize these prayers. It demonstrates the importance of sharing this practice within the community, making it a source of collective strength and spiritual connection.
It's like creating a shared language of devotion and a way to connect to Allah and to each other through these heartfelt expressions.
It's powerful stuff.
And what I think is interesting is these hadiths provide specific examples of these supplications, so there's something tangible that people can connect with.
It's not just abstract concepts. It's about giving practical guidance and tools that people can use to strengthen their faith and their relationship with Allah.
And these invocations are more than just words.
They are. They're infused with meaning. Each phrase carefully chosen to invoke Allah's names and attributes.
Yes.
Seeking his help, guidance, and mercy.
So it's recognizing the power of language.
It is.
Right.
And using these words intentionally to create a bridge between us
Yeah.
and the divine.
Right.
And the emphasis on memorization underscores the importance of preserving this and transmitting this knowledge across generations, ensuring that these prayers remain a living part of Islamic practice.
Now let's venture into a more enigmatic realm, the realm of prophecies and signs. Hadith 505 describes the warning about the Dajjal, a one-eyed deceiver who will appear before the Day of Judgment.
It's a figure that has captivated people for centuries.
It has.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Dajjal is significant in Islamic eschatology, representing the forces of deception and falsehood that will emerge in the end times. And this hadith draws this contrast between the Dajjal's one-eyedness and the clear affirmation that Allah is not one-eyed.
Yeah.
And this contrast is important because it highlights that distinction between the limited deceptive nature of the Dajjal and the absolute perfection and completeness of Allah.
Yeah. So it's kind of this reminder to be discerning.
It is. Yeah. It's a reminder to not be fooled by outward appearances or empty promises, especially in times of tribulation and uncertainty.
Right.
It prompts us to question what constitutes true sight, true knowledge, true guidance.
Yeah.
Are we relying on our limited perceptions? Or are we seeking guidance from the one who possesses complete and perfect knowledge?
Right. And it's such a powerful message, especially in a world today where we are just bombarded with so much information.
Exactly.
And conflicting narratives.
So much information coming at us from all angles.
It is. It's hard to kind of discern what is true.
It is. It's difficult to sift through.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to seek knowledge from authentic sources. Ground our beliefs in the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad and the divine revelations of the Quran.
And beyond just the Dajjal, we also encounter these glimpses of other key figures, events that are prophesied in these hadiths. So you have 507, 508, and 523 mentioning the Day of Judgment, the gathering of believers, and this powerful concept of the Prophet Muhammad's intercession on behalf of his followers.
These prophecies are integral to Islamic eschatology, providing a framework for understanding the ultimate purpose of our existence and the consequences of our actions.
So the Day of Judgment really serves as that reminder of accountability.
It does.
Yeah.
The day when our deeds will be weighed and we will be held responsible for our choices.
It's a very sobering thought, but also motivating.
It can be motivating.
Right, because it encourages us to live with that awareness of our ultimate destination.
Exactly.
And to strive for that life.
Yes.
That aligns with Allah's guidance.
And this concept of the Prophet's intercession offers a glimmer of hope amidst this weighty reality, speaks to the Prophet's immense love and compassion for his followers. Even in the hereafter, he continues to guide and intercede for those who believed in him and followed his teachings.
So it's a testament to his role as a mercy to all creation.
Absolutely.
A beacon of guidance and hope, even in the face of that divine judgment.
It's a reminder that Allah's mercy is vast and encompassing, that even in the midst of accountability, there is room for forgiveness and intercession for those who sincerely repent and turn to him.
Now let's shift our focus to some of the captivating stories of prophets and companions.
Yes, I love these stories. So much wisdom in them.
They really are. They're not just historical accounts. They're lessons.
They're lessons in faith, perseverance, the application of Islamic principles in real-life situations.
Right. They bring the teachings of Islam to life.
They do. They show us how these principles can be embodied and applied in the face of challenges, temptations, and triumphs.
So, for instance, we have Hadith 498, where Qubayb al-Ansari, who's a companion of the Prophet, he maintains his unwavering faith, even in the face of death.
Powerful.
Yeah. So it's a testament to the power of belief to provide that strength and solace, even in the most dire of circumstances.
His story is such a powerful reminder that true faith transcends fear and hardship. Even in the face of death, Qubayb remained steadfast in his belief, finding peace and acceptance in Allah's will.
Then we have Hadith 514, where the Prophet welcomes the people of Yemen to learn Islam.
I love this one.
Yeah, and he's patiently explaining.
So patiently explaining the beginning of creation.
Yeah, and it showcases his remarkable ability to convey these complex concepts.
It does.
In a way that's accessible and profound.
Accessible and profound.
Yeah, it's like it's not dumbed down.
Right. Exactly.
But it's still something that people can understand.
It highlights his role as a teacher and a guide. Someone who is patient, compassionate, and dedicated to sharing the message of Islam with clarity and understanding.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the universality of Islamic teachings.
Yes.
Welcoming people from all backgrounds and cultures to learn and embrace its message.
And then there's 527.
Yes.
Where the Prophet is demonstrating his wisdom in distributing wealth. And he addresses a man who's questioning his actions.
It's an insightful story because it reveals the Prophet's leadership qualities and his deep understanding of human nature. When faced with criticism, he responds with calmness and rationality, explaining his reasoning and ensuring fairness in his distribution.
So it's a lesson in navigating
those
challenging social dynamics with grace and wisdom and seeking to understand different perspectives before reacting with anger or defensiveness.
Beautiful.
And finally, we have Hadiths 569 and 570, which recount the story of Moses' encounter with Khidr.
Oh, a classic.
Yeah.
A man possessing special knowledge from Allah. Yeah. It's a tale that has resonated for centuries.
Yeah.
Prompting reflection and discussion on the nature of divine wisdom and the limitations of human understanding.
It's an intriguing story.
It is.
Because it challenges our assumptions about justice and logic.
It does.
Right? The actions of Khidr, which initially seemed cruel or senseless, are later revealed to be part of this larger divine plan that Moses, even as a prophet, couldn't comprehend.
Couldn't grasp at the time.
Yeah. So it's that lesson in trusting in Allah's wisdom.
Trusting.
Right? Even when we don't understand.
Even when we don't understand.
The reasons behind certain events.
Powerful, yeah.
It is.
Reminds us that our perspective is limited. Allah's knowledge encompasses far more than we can grasp.
So it encourages us to approach life's challenges with that humility and openness.
Yes.
Recognizing that sometimes the true meaning of things is revealed in hindsight.
Exactly.
Or maybe not at all in this lifetime.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, these stories offer such profound insights.
They do.
Into the complexities of life and navigating them according to these Islamic principles.
They show us how to apply these teachings in practical ways, reminding us that faith is not just a set of beliefs, but a way of life.
But how you live.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're living example.
They are. They're a living example.
Of what it means to embody Islamic teachings, demonstrating how to respond to challenges, make decisions, and interact with others.
Beautifully said.
In a way that reflects those values.
Yes.
At the heart of Islam.
These stories are a goldmine of wisdom and guidance.
They are.
Not just for Muslims, but for anyone seeking meaning, purpose, ethical guidance in their lives.
I love that.
Yeah. It's like they provide this blueprint for building a life grounded in faith and guided by these ethical principles.
And speaking of building, I'm reminded of those hadiths that emphasize Allah's attributes.
Yes.
Specifically, his boundless generosity and power.
Yes, the ones that paint this magnificent picture of Allah's nature. Take Hadiths 508 and 515, for example.
Okay.
They describe Allah's hand as being full, overflowing, even despite constantly giving and spending.
Yeah.
It's such a striking metaphor, isn't it?
Well, it really is. It challenges our limited human understanding of abundance and scarcity.
It does.
It's like trying to imagine an endless ocean. No matter how much you draw from it, it never diminishes.
Exactly. It's a reminder that Allah's blessings and provisions are inexhaustible.
Right.
His generosity transcends any earthly measure. It's not a finite resource that can be depleted.
Right.
It's a constant outpouring of grace and sustenance that sustains all of creation.
It's such a powerful message of hope, especially in a world where people struggle so much with scarcity and this fear of lack.
Absolutely. And it encourages us to cultivate an attitude of gratitude and trust, knowing that Allah is the ultimate provider.
Right.
The source of all abundance can free us from that anxiety.
Right.
And allow us to approach life with a sense of generosity and open-handedness.
And then we have Hadiths 518 and 545, which offer this incredibly comforting message that Allah's mercy precedes his anger.
This one's amazing. Yeah. It really speaks to his compassionate nature, doesn't it? It does.
I think it reframes our understanding of Allah's relationship with humanity. It tells us that his default setting, so to speak, is mercy. It's not that he's indifferent to wrongdoing or that justice is absent, but rather his mercy acts as a kind of buffer, a shield even, that tempers his anger and allows for forgiveness and redemption.
It's like this beacon of hope, especially for those who struggle with guilt or they feel overwhelmed by their shortcomings.
Absolutely. Knowing that Allah is more inclined to forgive than to punish can be so liberating.
Yeah.
And it encourages us to embody this quality of mercy in our own lives.
Okay.
If Allah, in his infinite majesty, prioritizes mercy, how much more should we, as flawed human beings, strive to cultivate this attribute in our interactions with others? It's a call to be forgiving, compassionate, and understanding, to offer second chances, and to recognize that inherent goodness in those around us.
Like this ripple effect. Exactly.
All as mercy flows through us and extends outwards, transforming our relationships.
It's shaping a more compassionate world.
Beautifully put.
And to further illuminate Allah's control over all aspects of existence, we have Hadith 583, which associates Allah with time itself.
Whoa, that's a profound statement.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it stretches our minds.
It really stretches our minds. It forces us to think beyond our linear perception of time. We tend to view time as something that moves forward, something we measure and quantify. But this Hadith suggests that Allah transcends these limitations. He encompasses the past, present, and future. He's the ultimate timekeeper. The architect of moments and epochs.
And recognizing that can bring this sense of peace and perspective.
It can.
It reminds us that all of our worries, our anxieties, our fleeting joys and sorrows, all of that unfolds within this grand cosmic order.
It does.
Orchestrated by Allah.
It's a beautiful thought.
It is. It's comforting, right?
It is.
Even when things feel chaotic or uncertain, that we exist within this framework of divine timing and purpose.
And it encourages us to be mindful of how we spend our time. Recognizing that each moment is precious. An opportunity to connect with Allah, to do good deeds, and to leave a positive mark on the world.
Now let's delve into kind of a theme that speaks to our inherent desire to do good. Seek Allah's pleasure. So we have several hadiths that emphasize the importance of good deeds and the rewards associated with them.
This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
It is.
It's not just about believing in Allah or affirming his oneness. It's about translating those beliefs into tangible actions, into a life that reflects those values.
So Hadith 519 specifically guarantees paradise for those who fulfill these certain acts of faith.
It does. It lists belief in Allah and his messenger, performing the 5 daily prayers, fasting during the month of Ramadan, paying the zakat, and performing Hajj if one is able.
It's like this roadmap to paradise.
It is a roadmap outlining the key practices that form the foundation of a righteous life.
And it's important to remember that these actions are not just rituals to be performed out of obligation.
No, they're opportunities to connect with Allah, to cultivate spiritual discipline, and to purify our hearts and intentions.
And in Hadith 559, we find this fascinating comparison. It says that the rewards for Muslims are like those given to previous nations, but with a crucial difference. Muslims receive double.
Yes, double the reward for their good deeds.
This doesn't diminish the value of previous prophets or scriptures, but it simply acknowledges the unique status of Islam as the final and complete revelation.
So the Quran encompasses that wisdom and guidance of those previous scriptures while providing a more comprehensive framework for understanding Allah's will and living that life. It's like building upon the foundations laid by previous prophets, adding another layer of depth and clarity to the divine message.
And that double reward is incredibly motivating.
It is. It is. It's encouraging. We strive for excellence in our actions, knowing that even those seemingly small acts of goodness can reap immense rewards.
Our efforts aren't in vain.
Not at all.
They're recognized and multiplied in Allah's sight.
And then there's Hadith 603. This one offers this powerful reminder to protect ourselves from the fire of hell, even if it's just by giving half a date in charity.
Wow. Okay.
This hadith underscores the significance of every good deed, no matter how small it might seem.
Right.
It emphasizes that even a simple act of kindness or generosity can have a profound impact. It's not about these grand gestures or extravagant displays of piety.
Right.
It's about cultivating a consistent habit of doing good, of extending mercy and compassion to those around us.
Regardless of their status or background?
It's a reminder that we have the power to make a difference.
We do.
To tip the scales in our favor.
Yeah.
Even with those seemingly insignificant actions.
It's about recognizing that every act of goodness, every effort to align our lives with Allah's will, contributes to our spiritual growth.
Right.
And earns us His favor.
It's a message of empowerment and hope.
It is.
Reminding us that even with our imperfections, our limitations, we have that capacity to choose good, to spread kindness, and to create that ripple effect of positivity.
Beautifully said.
That extends beyond ourselves.
It extends far beyond ourselves,
Yeah, it's like those small acts can accumulate. And create a ripple effect of positivity.
Like weaving a tapestry of goodness, thread by thread, action by action.
And, you know, when we look back on our lives, it's not necessarily those grand gestures that define us, but those consistent efforts.
The little things, right?
Yeah.
That make the big difference.
Right.
Those consistent efforts to align our actions with our values.
Speaking of values, I want to kind of circle back to a hadith we touched on earlier, Hadith 518, where the Prophet Muhammad says that when Allah had finished his creation, he wrote over his throne, "My mercy preceded my anger."
Oh, that's a powerful one.
It is. It's such a short phrase, but so incredibly profound.
It's one of those statements that just stays with you, isn't it?
It is.
It encapsulates so much about Allah's nature and his relationship with humanity.
It does.
It tells us that His mercy isn't just a reaction to our good deeds or a response to our repentance. It's an inherent part of His being, an attribute that precedes even His anger.
It almost feels like this foundational principle.
It is.
Right, upon which everything else is built. It's like the lens through which we understand His actions.
Exactly. It shifts our perspective.
Instead of approaching Allah with fear and trepidation, we can approach Him with hope. And confidence, knowing that His mercy is always there, waiting for us to turn back to Him.
It's like that safety net that allows us to stumble and fall, to make mistakes, and to learn from them without losing sight of His love and forgiveness.
It reminds us that even when we face those trials and tribulations, even when we feel lost or overwhelmed by our own shortcomings, Allah's mercy is a constant, a source of solace and strength.
So as we conclude this deep dive into Sahih Bukhari, Book 93, I'm struck by how much ground we've covered.
It's amazing.
You know, we've explored those concepts of Tawheed, delved into those descriptions of paradise and hell, contemplated the mysteries of the unseen, and learned from those stories of the prophets and companions.
It's been a journey of discovery, hasn't it?
It has.
And I think it speaks to the richness and depth of these hadiths. They offer something for everyone, regardless of their level of knowledge or understanding. There's always something new to learn, something to reflect upon, something to inspire us to grow closer to Allah.
And what's so wonderful about this particular book is how it seamlessly blends the theology with that practical guidance.
It does.
Offering insights into the nature of Allah and that path to living a righteous life.
It's a reminder that faith isn't just about abstract beliefs or intellectual understanding. It's about embodying those beliefs in our actions, in our interactions with others, in the way that we navigate those challenges and opportunities of daily life.
So as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with kind of this final thought, something to ponder as they continue exploring this wisdom contained in these hadiths. If Allah's mercy truly does precede His anger, how can we strive to embody that mercy in our own lives? How can we make our actions, our words, our very beings a reflection of that divine attribute?
Beautiful. What an essential question to carry with us. It's a challenge, an invitation to cultivate that more merciful, compassionate heart, to extend grace to ourselves and those around us. And as we do so, we become conduits of Allah's mercy, contributing to a more just, loving, and harmonious world.
It's been a truly enriching experience exploring these hadiths with you.
Likewise.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Sahih al-Bukhari, Book 93.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, may Allah guide us all on the path of knowledge, understanding, and righteous action.